Hello, once more, welcome back to the channel. Back on YouTube, doing the first week one of the 2025 Big Ten football predictions. After doing the predictions last week, the preseason, where I told you where I think each team's going to be in the 18-team conference. One of the best conferences in college football, 18 teams, hard to predict. Let's get started. Week one starting right now. First game tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, and the birthplace of college football, or so they assume. Rutgers Scarlet Knights. They're taking on the Ohio Bobcats out of the MAC. Multiple Big Ten MAC opponent, multiple Big Ten MAC games this weekend. At least 5 or 6 from what I've counted during the Big Ten and the MAC. So let's get started with it. First game, Rutgers against Ohio and in Piscataway, New Jersey. Birthplace of college football. Should be an interesting one there. Rutgers coming in. Last year, I think they had a good year when I picked Rutgers to win games this last year. Rutgers were one of those teams. They were okay, I guess. But looking at this game overall, I don't know what to expect in any of these games this week. I do think there's going to be there are a few top 25 matchups that are going to be interesting to see, a few Power 4 matchups that are going to be interesting to pay attention for this weekend. For this round for Rutgers, Ohio, I expect the home team Rutgers to come away with winning this one. Maybe by 2 to 3 touchdowns at the end of the day. At the end of this one, if Ohio can keep it close, I think Ohio might keep the game close at points. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, Rutgers runs away with it at the end of the day. So I'm going to Rutgers in this one here to start out the 2025 Big Ten prediction season. So I'll take the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. Next up, we're going to head to Minnesota and Buffalo. Also tomorrow night, another Big Ten MAC game. This time, Minneapolis, home of the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and they're playing against the Buffalo Bulls tomorrow night, another MAC team. And I'll say this about Minnesota real quick: they're one of those teams. They're one of those teams every year. It seems like with Minnesota, they're one of the teams over the last few years that have had issues with MAC teams. There's at least one game every year where a Big Ten team has an issue with a MAC team, and I think for Minnesota, that might be tomorrow night against Buffalo. I think Buffalo can keep this one close at times in the game, but I don't expect Buffalo to come away with a win. I do expect Minnesota to come away with a win in this one. I just think Buffalo will keep it a close game at the end of the day. I think Minnesota comes away with a win, but in a close margin of victory, though, for them at home tomorrow night on Thursday. So I'm going to Golden Gophers there in this one. Next up, we're going to Kansas City, Missouri, as the home team this time. Cincinnati out of the Big 12 is taking on a former Big 12 team in Nebraska at Arrowhead Stadium, home of the Kansas City Chiefs. For first of 4 Power 4 matchups on the schedule. I'm looking at this one here, with Cincinnati being the home team technically in a neutral site game, but for Nebraska, it's within proximity close to their home, where they play back in Lincoln, Nebraska. So overall, I think this game for Nebraska is technically a home game for them, even though they're the road team in the game in a neutral site against a Big 12 team in Cincinnati. I think Nebraska is going to have a lot of fans there. I think Nebraska is going to make it loud for the Bearcat fans. I think Cincinnati is going to have a hard time with the Nebraska crowd. I think the majority of the crowd is going to be Nebraska favored overall. That being said, I do think Nebraska comes away with a big win here against Cincinnati. I do think it's going to be a one-score game, most likely at the end of the night. Could be 2. We'll have to wait and see. But for this one, give me the Huskers of Nebraska in a one-score game against Cincinnati, against the Bearcats tomorrow night in Kansas City. Next up, Madison, Wisconsin, tomorrow night. The Badgers. Yeah, the Badgers of Wisconsin. A team last year that had a tough year in Wisconsin. Had a losing record. Had a bad year last year. Wisconsin, they're coming in. They're playing Miami, Ohio in a game. And I'll say this. Whenever Wisconsin's played MAC teams in the past, and they play MAC schools well, they always find ways to torture them with their game in their first game of the season. Usually, if they're playing MAC team last year, It happened against Western Michigan late last year. At one point, they played Western Michigan and they just tortured them. Had Western Michigan had a 14-0 lead at 14-7 lead or 14-0 lead, if I am correct, last year, and Wisconsin just torched them the rest of the game and took over from there and just won it all. So, as I said that, as that happened, I think Wisconsin comes into this one, and I think Wisconsin's going to get a big win coming up tomorrow night against Miami, Ohio, in the second of the MAC Big Ten matchups for the week. There. Next up, it's the Michigan State Spartans against Western Michigan, another MAC team, third MAC opponent for the weekend. Third MAC opponent, this game coming up for you all on Friday night. Friday Night Lights in East Lansing. Michigan State taking on Western Michigan, the Broncos. Michigan State out of the Big Ten. Michigan State last year, they were one of those teams that had a little bit of a better year with a new head coach. Coming to the year number 2 with a new head coach. This is a matchup that can be interesting for them. Western Michigan, Michigan State, this is a matchup I think that will be interesting to see overall. I think Michigan State and Western Michigan, these two big teams, I think, look good against each other overall as teams when they play each other. In the past, I think they've played home and home series in the past, which has gone the way Michigan State as of late. But overall, this one, I do think Western Michigan can stay in a ball game with Michigan State coming up on Friday night. I do think they keep it a close game, but I don't think they run away with it. I don't think Western Michigan's going to have an issue staying close in this game. But I think Michigan State runs away with it at the end of the day, wins by 2, maybe 3 scores. It's going to be the Spartans in this one here on Friday night for the first game on Friday. Moving on, we have Illinois, Western Illinois, in Champaign on Friday night. This game is on NBC and Peacock on Friday night. And for this one, it's an FCS team against Illinois. Illinois, they know how to beat those FCS teams in the past. Illinois, one of those teams in the top 25 to start the year. And how good can Illinois be if they stay in the top 25 for the majority of the season? I'm not sure, but overall, I've looked at Illinois' schedule. I think Illinois has a chance to start 4-0 potentially this year. They might have some issues at some point, but I don't think that's going to be an issue for Illinois this season. At the end of the day, them playing Western Illinois, I think this one's going to be an easy one. I think they're going to win by 50 possibly, maybe 60. We'll have to wait and see. I do think Western Illinois gets a few points here and there, but at the end of the day, give me Illinois in this early one to start out their season. Moving on to Friday, moving on to Saturday afternoon, the first of Saturday's games. We have Florida Atlantic against Maryland out in College Park. Maryland are one of those teams. They come in. They look like a team. They come into this season. They can play good, but Maryland had issues last year. This year, I think Maryland's going to win one of those teams that are going to have the issues this year. This game against Florida Atlantic is going to be tough for Atlantic. They have a former coach who used to coach Alabama, and we all know how Alabama beats teams. Florida Atlantic's pretty much turning into Alabama the new, but in a power group of 5 team. Overall, looking at Maryland looks like a team they're going to have to win games this year. Have to get points in this one. They're going to get style points, I believe, in this matchup coming up on Saturday. I do think they get points. Not sure how they do it, but they get points somehow this week. I think Maryland comes away with a close one, maybe by a field goal at the end of the day. So give me the Maryland here, this one to start out on Saturday's matchups. Next up, we have the Purdue Boilermakers coming up. Purdue Boilermakers taking on Ball State. Another one of those Big Ten matchup in-state team. You can't say they're in-state rivals because they're not in-state rivals, unfortunately. But there are 2 teams that are going to be interested to see. Purdue, one of those teams last year that did not do good. They're not going to do good this year. If they're going to get a win this year or lose a game non-conference, this might be the game they lose non-conference. I'm not sure how, though, if they do lose it, how they lose non-conference, but it could be one of those games that they lose overall. So at the end of the day, I think this might be the one MAC team that gets a win against a Big Ten team this week. Out of the 5 MAC games we have for Big Ten teams, which is this is the final one, I think Ball State comes away with the win and shocks Big Ten. So give me the Ball State Cardinals in this one, as I do think they shock the Boilermakers of Purdue on Saturday afternoon. Next up, we're going to Northwestern. Northwestern is traveling down to New Orleans. They're taking on Tulane. They're taking on the Tulane Grand Wave out of another group of 5 team on the road. Northwestern last year, after their coach won Coach of the Year in 2023 last year, Northwestern only won 4 games. This year, I think Northwestern turns it around at some points in 2025. Do I think Northwestern is one of the teams that does better? No, not entirely. I think they're maybe one of those teams near the bottom of the Big Ten. Maybe gets 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 wins. But I see them as a bottom feeder in the Big Ten. At the end of the day, this one, I think Tulane potentially comes out with a win at home. I don't think Northwestern goes down to New Orleans and plays well. I think Tulane comes away and gets a crazy win and shocks a Big Ten team, with another Big Ten team getting shocked this week. So give me Tulane for that one. Moving on to the biggest game on Saturday. The biggest game of the day, the Texas Longhorns. They're going up against Ohio State. Top 5 matchup, number 1 Texas, number 3 Ohio State to start the year. A matchup that could be a comfortable playoff matchup, maybe a national championship preview to start the season. I'm looking at this one, Ohio State playing at home against the number 1 team in the land in Texas. Last year we all know how Ohio State did it, won a national title for the defending champions. Can they do it on home turf? Overall, I think it's going to be one of those games, yes, you can do it on home turf. Is it one of those games that you could win on home turf? I don't think so. At the end of the day, I think this one comes away with with Ohio State beating Texas on a last-second play, a field goal, to win the game. At the end of the day, I think it's going to be at least, final score in this game is going to be at least 17-16, maybe even more, maybe 24-23, something like that. But I think Ohio State wins by field goal, by point or a field goal in this one at the end of the day to win it. So give me the Buckeyes over the number 1 team in the land, Texas. Moving on. Yeah, moving on here. Rolling right along. Rolling right along. We have Indiana. Last year won 11-1. And the Big Ten. And Old Dominion. This one of those games that should be interesting. Indiana was a college football playoff team a year ago. Finished 11-1 in the regular season. Lost to Notre Dame. And Indiana, it's just another year for them that they need to win games. At the end of the day, Indiana can do that. But overall, if you ask me about Indiana, Indiana's going to be one of those teams that I think has a hard time doing it. At the end of the day, I think they're going to continue their trend, win their 12th game in the last 2 seasons. So give me the Hoosiers big winner against Old Dominion on Saturday afternoon in Bloomington. Moving on. Next up, Penn State taking on Nevada in a late afternoon game. Penn State, another one of those teams that made the college football playoffs. They got all the way to the semifinals last year before losing to Notre Dame. This year, they start out with Nevada. Penn State, they're one of those teams this year. I think this year is the year Penn State proves that they can make it back, finish in the top 5 in the Big Ten, maybe make a Big Ten title game. But I think it's going to be a close one between them, Oregon and Ohio State at the end of the year, and USC potentially. USC, I think, is going to be one of those teams that's a team that's revamped and wins games. But looking at Penn State, I think Penn State's going to be one of those teams that definitely does what they need to do to get a win. Against Nevada, I think Penn State kind of blow them away. Nevada, I think, will get at least 1 to 2 touchdowns of this one, even though they do get blown away by Penn State, in my mind. So there, give me Penn State in that one. Moving on, next one. We have to go to Oregon as the Ducks take on Montana State, another FCS team. Last year's reigning champions of the Big Ten. They finished 13-0 in the regular season, won the Big Ten championship game against Penn State. Lost in the Rose Bowl to Ohio State, who won the national title game. The Ducks, they're one of those teams. Playing Montana State should be an easy cakewalk for them. If anything, Montana State's probably going to get only 3 points or 7 points in this matchup. At the end of the day, I do think Oregon comes away with a big win on Saturday afternoon, as I do think the Ducks shock the world, get a win as they continue their Big Ten run to start 14-1 in their Big Ten as a team. Next up, we're going to my Hawkeyes. They're taking on Albany. Yeah, weird. Who knew who knew Albany had a university that played football? They're going to come play a Big Ten team. I don't even know why, but it's going to be interesting to see. Overall, at the end of the day, I think Albany and Iowa. I think this game could be one of those games where Iowa scores a lot. I don't know much about Albany, but I know Iowa with a new quarterback. They have running backs that are coming back. I think Iowa's this year going to be one of those teams in the Big Ten. This year for Iowa, they need to prove to people. I predict them to finish 7th in the regular season this year, earlier last week when I did the predictions. I think it's going to be the same, most likely. At the end of the day, I think Iowa comes away with a win by quite a bit. I don't know how much Albany's going to score, but I think Iowa gets a big win here on home turf coming up on Saturday evening. There you go. Moving on. We have the USC Trojans taking on Missouri State. Not the newest FBS team, Missouri State. Haven't traveled to USC, the home of the USC Trojans. It's going to be one of those games that's going to be interesting to see. USC this year, they're one of those teams I think that's going to have a better year than last year in year number 2 in the Big Ten. They're going to be one of those the Big Ten teams that I think surprise people, finishes in the top 4. And today, I think USC comes away and gets a win at home against Missouri State. Missouri State, I think they're going to have issues going to the Coliseum from the Midwest. Playing USC, hostile environment, loud, a lot of fans. I just think USC comes away with a big win against Missouri State at the end of the day in this one. Moving on. Next up. We're going back to the game on Saturday night in Ann Arbor, Michigan. New Mexico under the lights in the big house on NBC. Primetime game. Michigan this year hit with all the sanctions a few weeks ago. It's going to be interesting to see how that impacts Michigan's season. And with it being impacting Michigan's season, I do think it's going to be one of those games where Michigan's going to have a tough year. I do think they get a season opening win against New Mexico, but I do think New Mexico keeps it a close one in this game. I think Michigan has to make plays to get a win in this big game. But give me the Wolverines here in this one on a Saturday evening in the first game of their season. Moving on, next, we have UCLA, Power 5 war matchup. Big 12 Utah Utes coming in to play UCLA, a rematch. First time since Utah's departed the Pac-12 and UCLA part of the Pac-12. Power 4 matchup, Big 10, Big 12, UCLA last year. They won 6 games, UCLA. The only loss they had at home was 2. The only win, they lost pretty much all their home games. The only one they had at home was the Iowa last year, game I was at. They won by 3 points, 20-17. I do think UCLA this year playing Utah. Utah's one of those teams, they played well last year in the Big 12. They didn't get deep enough. But at the end of the day, I think UCLA is going to be a much better team overall. I think UCLA comes with a big win here at home in the Rose Bowl on a Saturday night. So the Bruins with a win Saturday night to start out the 2025 campaign for the Bruins in their season. Last game on the schedule. We have the Washington Huskies and the Colorado State Rams. Another late night game. Both these last 2 games after 11 o'clock Eastern time. As you can see, Colorado State playing Washington should be one of those late night games. Washington last year finished 6-6, won all 6 home games, lost all 6 road games as well. And Washington is one of those teams. After being in the Big Ten one year, but going 6-6, I think this year is going to be a year where they improve a bit, but not by much. I think they get a big win here against Colorado State at home. So give me the Washington Huskies with a big win on Saturday night at home against Colorado State. So there you have it, my 2025 Week 1 Big Ten predictions. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did like today's video, please comment below who your favorite team is And if they're playing this week, who you think, and if you think they're going to win. That being said, please remember to watch, like, subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends to do the same if they've not done so yet already. And also don't forget, hit that notification button below so you know when there's a new video on the channel. With that being said, have a good day, stay safe, and peace out. I'll see you right back here in week 2 next Thursday. Back to the regular day, Thursday next week. That being said, I'll see you next week on Thursday for that one. And also, I'll see you at the Big Ten prediction, quick version for week 1 predictions coming up in a few minutes as well, after this video gets posted as well. So see you then. Bye for now. Stay safe. Peace out. Have a good day, everyone. See ya.